The format of tonight's meeting is to have a guest speaker share their experience, strength and hope on how Alcoholics Anonymous program of recovery is working in their lives for 15 to 20 minutes. And tonight we've asked Matt to share.
Hi everyone, my name's Matt, I'm an alcoholic.
Hi.
And it's good to be here, and well done to James for his birthday. I don't know James that well, but I was just thinking it's a good feeling when you come to an AM meeting and you still see people who were around when you first came in. And there's a few new faces here tonight, and congrats to the newcomers, because I noticed that I think all of you, with your time up, made it through Christmas, New Year's without a drink, which is good, and also very hard. But certainly coming in here tonight and see Dean there and my first sponsor Barry as well, and it's a good feeling, because I haven't been to this meeting for a long time, at least 2 years I'd say, and to walk in and see people who are still around it's just great. And just about tonight too, I sort of cracked the sads about an hour ago, because I got home and discovered that my wife needed the car, and I was like, well, you didn't tell me that anyway. So then I was going to cancel and call Barry and say, sorry mate, can't make it, but I didn't. I got off my arse and used public transport, which I hardly ever do these days, and got a couple of trams and just made it here. But it's something that's taught me in 7 years of AA, is that when even though that's just a little obstacle, obviously, but when you can't be asked or you just don't feel like it, to just go ahead and do it anyway. And that's something I've learned in my 7 years of AA. My sobriety date is the 30th of October 2005, and I'll just do a quick ID. My last drink was driving around in a blackout. I basically drunk myself into oblivion that day or that night, and went for a drive, which obviously I can't remember because I was in a blackout. Crashed the car. Police came, .223, and I was in a spot above her. And the funny thing about that is that if you had told me years and years before, if I was going to, at the age of 34, wrap my car around a pole at 2:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning, after leaving my apartment, driving through McDonald's, getting a Big Mac meal, and was almost at home, asleep at the wheel obviously, so luckily the car went to the left, police estimated 80 to 100 k's, wrapped around a pole. I wouldn't have thought that I would end up in that position, but I did. And when I say I didn't think I'd end up in that position, what I mean by that is I come from a background that's pretty solid, with parents that are still together, really normal, happy parents, brother and sister. My sister's a year older, she doesn't have the same problem we have. My parents don't have the same problem I have. I don't know of any alcoholism in the family. What I know is I was brought up, good private schools, university education, good at sport, lots of friends, lots of girlfriends, travelled around the world. It looked great from the outside, but and when I first had a drink when I was 18, which was a late start, 18 years old, I really liked it. I really liked the social element of it. I really liked the fact that it made it easier for me to talk to other people, particularly girls, and I liked the fact that everyone sort of seemed to really join in together after a few drinks. There was none of this sort of us and them groups bullshit. But and drinking for me was about good times and going out. But at the age of about 26, I was living overseas, and I ran into a few problems, a few personal problems. And I'm not going to go into the gory details of that right now, but it was around a relationship, and it was around being in love with the wrong person, and this girl, she actually, at the end of the relationship, she cut herself up in a really, really nasty way. And I couldn't sleep as a result. It just freaked me out. And, I after that, a process started, which once that process started, I didn't know it at the time, but I would never go back. And the process was I couldn't cope with life, and I couldn't sleep, and if I had a couple of drinks, it helped me sleep. And particularly if I did a lot of exercise, which I was doing at the time, and doing a lot of martial arts, and had just even 2 beers, I would sleep. But after a couple of months, that 2 beers became 4 beers. And you know the story from there. You know, it became 6. And then it became a few glasses of wine and a few beers, even though I didn't really like wine, but wine was 14%. And once that process started, didn't matter how hard I tried, didn't matter the strong memories in my head of 18 to 26, normal drinking, social drinking, good times, offering to drive my mates, my turn to drive, just have a couple of lights. Didn't matter. Didn't matter that I used to be that person. I wasn't that person anymore. I was a person who was suffering from a disease that had a grip on me and was not going to let go, and that's that, and it was progressive, and it got worse and worse and worse. And over a 8-9 year period, my drinking got so disgusting and out of control. Drugs is part of my story as well, although I don't think I was ever really addicted to drugs. I just loved doing party drugs to go out. But once it started, that was it. And that led to me, you know, first of all I was living in Hong Kong, then I was living in London, then I thought I'll go back to Australia, nice geographic. Once I get back to Australia, family, friends, everything will be all right. No, didn't happen. Lost my career. Ended up, you know, losing relationships. You know, and it got to that night where it was just I was unemployable, and I was just drinking myself to death. That was my existence. It wasn't living anymore. It was just this blob on the couch at home. I lived by myself. Get up, go to the bottle shop, drive around, have a few beers driving around. Stop off at a few more bottle shops. Last stop off was to buy a bottle of spirits and another 6-pack and probably a bottle of wine just in case, and another packet of fags, and then just go home and finish myself off and then do it again the next day. Bank balance is going like this, you know, just it was, and you know, I wasn't even thinking. I was just that's where alcoholism took me, and it took me to that night, and that led me to, besides, you know, the charges and magistrates court and all that sort of stuff, it took me into a rehab. And, you know, at that rehab I was introduced to AA, and even though I'd walked into AA meetings before, I walked in with my ears completely blocked and I walked out. But this time I'd reached my rock bottom. I'd reached my absolute rock bottom. And I started to hear things in these meetings. And I also knew after my last drink that if I drank again, I will die. I knew I will die. That was clearly in my head. So, you know, look, I started to listen. The rehab wasn't that hard because you're locked away for a month and everyone's taking care of you. But when I was back in the apartment, I almost drank myself to death in, you know, I shat myself. And I remember one moment in particular where I was feeling like absolute shit, and, you know, I'm just standing in my apartment by myself, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. And just this thought came into my head that, you know, it was Thursday night about 6 o'clock, and a thought came into my head, well, I better go to an AA meeting. And so I did, and it was the Thursday night Richmond Steps meeting. And for the first few months of AA, I, you know, absolutely fucking hated it here in Melbourne. I absolutely hated it. I was just so sorry for myself. You know, this is Losersville. You know, it was just hopeless. And I used to sit by the door, and I used to sit by the door so that I could leave straight away, so that I didn't have to hold hands, so that I didn't have to say the Serenity Prayer. And every meeting I walked into, I had a baseball cap pulled down over my eyes so that you couldn't get eye contact with me. And that's, you know, that was me in my first few months of AA in Melbourne. But the funny thing is, when I walked into these rooms, there was a few people who, you know, they just refused for me to walk in and to walk out without talking to anyone. So they made a point of just literally bumping into me, and it was week after week, and saying, how are you going? And, you know, I just couldn't figure it out. Why do these people want to know about me? Why are they talking to me? I don't want to talk to them. But they just kept talking to me, and I kept coming back to AA because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have anywhere else to go. And again, I had in my head, if I drink again, I'll die. and I've tried everything else. I tried everything. Everything that you've tried, I've tried it too, and I've tried it more than once, and I failed dismally every time. I always went back to the drink. It didn't matter how hard I tried, I could not stop drinking. Until I came here. Until I came here, and until I got in the habit of coming here, and until I got, here we go, a sponsor and a home group, and started doing the steps. And you've heard it all before, and you hear it every meeting. And it's called doing the drill, as a lot of guys in this meeting say, but that's what happened to me. I was steered down that path into this is what you're going to have to do. It's not about just coming to meetings. And, you know, I was so bloody confused by this stuff. I really was. I was bamboozled by it. And I look at it now, and 7 years later, and with the risk of sounding arrogant, I look at it now and it looks just like simple black and white, and it's pretty straightforward. But make no mistake, when I walked into these rooms, I was so fucked in the head. I used to sit there and I used to wonder why there was the same list of 12 up next to each other. I fair income, because I was just so gone. I'd lost the power to read and understand what I was looking at. So I used to sit there going, oh, you must have to say them twice or something, you know. So when you're starting from that position, and you're so ashamed of where you've ended up with your drink driving and your magistrate's court and having to tell your parents and all that and confess to everybody, learning this stuff and understanding that's really hard when you're that far gone. And sobriety for me came very, very slowly, and people around me teaching me this stuff had to have a lot of patience. And luckily for me, they did. Luckily for me, they did, and I've never forgotten it, and I've never forgotten it. My first sponsor, Barry's in the room tonight, and, you know, I think about some of the conversations back in those first couple of years, and I was just off my head, you know. I really was off my head. And I don't think I really gained a true understanding of the steps, really fair income, until somebody asked me to sponsor them. And there's nothing like, in anything in life, when you have to present something to someone else, when you have to describe it, that's when you really learn it. That's when you start to understand it. And, you know, and that's an amazing thing. So that's a bit of an ID. But I suppose my topic for tonight, if I can say this, is you know, and it's probably about where I am right now, is just about what I've learnt since I've been in here. And what I've learnt since I've been in here, I've learnt quite a few things that just, you know, amaze me, and some things I need to work on. The first thing is that I cannot believe that I haven't had a drink for over 7 years, one day at a time. I just can't believe it. It just amazes me, and I don't wave a banner or anything like that, but I don't know, and this is another cliche, I don't know whether the time's gone. I just don't. It is possible. I used to, when I was in my first period in here, I used to really look up to people who had a year or 2 years up. Anyone who had more than that, they were just off the planet. They weren't real. And now I'm past those points, and I'm at 7 years. And in my opinion, 7 years is a small time in this fellowship, and I'm hoping I can get a lot more years up in this fellowship, because I don't ever want to drink again. I don't ever want to go back to where I was, one day at a time. The other thing is I've learnt in this program, and again here comes another cliche, is that, you know, I get back out of this program what I put in, as with everything in life. If I'm not working this program properly, my life suffers as a result. It mightn't be, you know, financial, it mightn't be in terms of friends dropping off or family dropping off, and you mightn't see it straight away. It can just be a feeling inside, and a feeling of self-esteem dropping or something like that. It can be subtle, and if you don't watch it, you know, it can creep up and overtake you. And, you know, I think I'm getting better at that, but I'm also going to put my hand up and say, you know, the number one thing I've learnt in here is that if I don't work it hard all the time, I suffer. And then when I start suffering, the close people around me, they start suffering too, because I can't remember which page it is of the big book, but the bedevilments, page 53 or 52, whatever it is. maybe not having a drink, but those other personality traits of being an alcoholic. You know, ridiculous fears, paranoia, fear of financial insecurity, acting out when I've got no right to, being judgmental. All of those things, all of those nasty things that I really can't stand about myself when I do them, they come back into play when I'm not working this properly. The other thing I've learnt in here is that, you know, I had no concept at all and was the biggest cynic and doubter of this thing called spirituality and a higher power. What a load of fucking shit, I thought to myself. Absolute bullshit. Stick that up you know. Well, my life started to change in here when at the insistence of my second sponsor, I was told to get down on my knees and pray in the morning. Just a simple prayer, it only takes a minute. Get down on your knees and hand it over to your higher power. That physical action of going from here to dropping on my knees, it worked like that. Instantly. My life changed, my sobriety changed when I started to fair income hand it over. And it didn't matter that I had a lot of doubts about a higher power at the start. It didn't matter because I thought to myself, well, if other people believe it, eventually I thought to myself, if other people believe it, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. And I'm now, I don't mind saying to any of you right now, I am a firm believer there is a thing called a higher power, and we've all got one, and it's, you know, I don't need to define it. I don't need to put a sticker on it. I don't need to be able to describe what it looks like. I just know that it exists. And the reason I know the higher power exists, what else I've learned as I've been in this program, is that when I hand it over one day at a time for the past 7 years, through the highs and through the lows, I've been taken care of. That's what's happened to me over the past 7 years. My life, highs and lows, has got better and better, sometimes worse, but then better again over 7 years. On the chart, my life started here 7 years ago and it's gone up. That's what's happened over 7 years. I used to get fired in jobs because I'd sober up. I'm a great salesman. I'd put on the suit and tie and I could talk my way in anywhere. I'd get a great job again. A few weeks go by, slipping up again, I'd get fired. Again and again and again. When I sobered up, I thought, here we go. You know, back on. I've had 2 really, really good professional jobs in sobriety, and on both of them, I've been knifed in the back and let go. You know, and I'm just like, for fuck, what are you doing to me? Is this some kind of joke? You know, like, I'm sober now, you know. But in both of those situations, in the job I'm in now, it's led to something else. And it's led to me being taken out of a situation and a job I didn't really want to be there anyway. So, go figure that one out. My, you know, so everything is all right. As long as I keep doing this, everything has been all right for me. And, you know, I got married in March last year. I never thought I'd have a relationship, you know. I can't drink, I can't go out, you know. Well, that's just bullshit. That's just crap. And I'm married to someone who she's not one of us. She drinks. She's not a heavy drinker. But, you know, she moved in eventually when we were still going out, and she bought her good wines and her bottle of vodka in the freezer with her when she moved in. And the thing is, and this is the real miracle of AA, is the thing is, I live there and she has a glass of wine over dinner. I don't even see it anymore. I don't see it. I don't smell it. If I open the freezer to get some ice from a drink and the vodka's right there, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I walk into the Coles across the road, where I've always gone to the Coles across the road. There's a liquor land door right next to it. I walk by it. I don't walk by it going like this. I walk by it because I don't see it. I don't see it. It doesn't come in here anymore. That is a miracle. That is a miracle from someone who could not stop drinking, no matter how hard I tried. No matter how many psychs I went to, couldn't stop drinking. Good night, Irene. It's all over. And so, you know, I'm not the miracle. It's a miracle what this program has done for me. I'm very, 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 very thankful for being here tonight. And thanks to my first sponsor, Barry. I just want to give him a big ego boost up the back there. because we all know he loves it. And you know what? I actually something just popped into my time's up. I'm going. Something popped into my head about higher power, and I'd actually forgotten this until I was talking about it and saw Barry tonight. I used to ask Barry, you know, this higher power crap, blah 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 blah. And he used to, and Barry used to say to me, you know, Matt, you know that night where you were driving around drunk in a blackout and you wrapped your car around the pole and you didn't hit anybody else and you're still alive and you've got your legs and your face is intact. Do you think maybe someone was looking out for you that night? What do you reckon? And that's all the proof I needed. Thanks.